If you are looking at your commercial forecast for the next 2 years, I want you to focus on one metric. And it's a metric that, frankly, should terrify every sales leader and executive listening right now.
Oh, okay.
The performance gap between your average sellers and your elite high performers is not just growing, it's becoming an organizational chasm.
That chasm is it. That's the defining characteristic of the 2026 sales environment we're heading into.
Right.
We're talking about an urgency that goes way beyond simple yearly planning. Based on the insights we've pulled from the sales experts, the core observation is just so clear.
Which is what?
If you rely on yesterday's capabilities, you simply cannot succeed tomorrow. It's that stark.
You cannot enter 2026 with the same level of capability you had in 2025. That's the line that really stood out from the research.
It is.
And this isn't just about, tweaking your comp plan or adding a new CRM feature. This feels much bigger.
Oh, it's a mandate. It's a mandate for a necessary reset of commercial capability across the entire organization.
A full reset.
It's recognizing that the market has fundamentally shifted. And for sales leaders, adaptation is, well, it's no longer optional.
So the old playbook is broken.
It's actively detrimental. The strategies that allowed average performers to hit quota even a year or two ago are now failing because the buyer has changed too quickly.
Okay, let's unpack this. We've got a massive stack of sources detailing these fundamental market changes. And I really want to understand what is driving this urgency.
Yeah.
What new market reality are sales leaders confronting that makes those 2025 tactics just completely fail?
The primary shift, the seismic change under all of this is the behavior of the B2B buyer.
It always comes back to the buy.
Always. And prospecting today looks nothing like it did in that sort of post-pandemic recovery era. Deals are not moving swiftly based on single-threaded conversations anymore.
That gold era of the swift single-stakeholder close is, it's basically a historical footnote now, isn't it?
It really is.
The research we reviewed documented this real triple whammy of complexity that salespeople now have to navigate.
Exactly. First, research cycles are way longer.
Right.
Buyers are doing so much more work before they ever talk to a sales rep, which compresses the time a rep has to actually add value.
Okay, so that's one. What's two?
Second, there are significantly more stakeholders involved. We're talking about buying committees growing from maybe 3 people to 7 or even 8.
7 or 8 people who can all say no.
All with veto power. And third, there is just massive scrutiny on spend. Every dollar has to be justified to the CFO.
And that justification requires deep, structured proof of ROI, not just, some glossy product brochures.
Not anymore.
So if your team is still relying on charisma and basic product knowledge to win, they are toast.
Completely.
If they can't manage this new complexity, where does the deal fall apart?
It often falls apart internally on the commercial architecture side, not externally on the product side.
What do you mean by that?
If a team can't effectively map influence within that 7-person committee, identifying the economic buyer, the technical gatekeepers, the champions, they fail to build consensus.
I see.
They lose deals early because of process failure. They haven't run an effective mutual action plan, or they've let their internal champion just run out of steam.
And the deal just stalls out indefinitely in procurement.
Indefinitely.
Yeah.
An average rep might be phenomenal at the presentation.
Sure.
But if they are terrible at the political maneuvering required to keep a complex deal alive for 6 months, that deal is never going to close.
The complexity has fundamentally outstripped the average rep's management ability.
And that inability to manage complexity leads us directly to the second major challenge facing sales leaders right now.
Let me guess. The pipeline.
The debilitating state of pipeline health across multiple industries.
The pipeline. The universal source of executive stress. The research highlights that it's weaker not just in volume, but in velocity and quality, too.
The data is screaming that budgets are tighter, competition is fiercer, and deals are simply slower.
Right.
And this slowdown is exposing a massive structural flaw in how many organizations were built. In the recent past, growth was fueled by 2 luxuries: a generally rising economic tide.
And a really strong inbound lead flow.
A very strong inbound lead flow. That luxury of inbound inquiries is no longer sustainable.
So it's a dangerous gamble for 2026 planning.
It is. The essential strategic shift is moving away from simply reacting to demand, being an order taker, toward actively generating demand.
Becoming a market maker.
Becoming a market maker. You need salespeople who consistently and proactively build their own pipeline, who create curiosity, and who are not just waiting for marketing to hand them a form-fill lead.
That's a massive distinction, especially for hiring. If your team is still structured around fielding inbound leads, you're competitively disadvantaged.
Hugely.
You need to hire hunters who can engineer opportunities, not just gatherers who catch them.
And the market is telling us the cost of relying on those gatherers is becoming exponentially expensive relative to their output.
How so?
Well, if we look at the internal P&L, organizations that rely solely on inbound are now paying these immense sums for marketing and lead gen, only to see those high-cost leads mishandled by sales teams that lack the required rigor.
But wait, let me just push back on that for a second.
Go for it.
In a tight labor market, where leaders are under immense pressure to show headcount growth, it's just politically easier to hire 3 lower salary gatherers than 1 expensive hunter.
It is.
So how do you convince a board or a CFO that they need to invest more per head?
You do it by demonstrating the leveraged impact, which actually brings us perfectly to the actionable insights section of this deep dive.
Okay.
If the market is demanding a higher commercial capability, we have to focus our investment on quality.
Here's where it gets really interesting. We're moving from the pain points to the potential payoff. Yep. And the first takeaway, which really challenges those traditional scaling models, is prioritize quality over volume.
This point is so critical because it forces leaders to confront the hidden long-term cost of a mediocre hire.
The hidden costs.
Yeah. We often view a weak salesperson as someone who just misses their target, but that's the smallest part of the damage.
Okay, so let's detail that. What active measurable harm does a mid-range performer actually inflict on the business?
They do 3 things that are just corrosive to growth.
Yeah.
First, they drain the pipeline.
Okay.
They take genuinely promising opportunities that required effort and resource to generate, and they actively mismanage them.
And I imagine they consume executive time as well. A manager is spending, 30% of their bandwidth trying to save that one rep's deals?
Precisely. That's the second cost.
Good.
They slow momentum for the entire organization by becoming resource sinks.
A resource sink. I like that framing.
And third, and this is maybe the most damaging in the long run, they damage your brand credibility. Poor execution, missing follow-ups, unclear communication, and inability to articulate value. It doesn't just lose that deal. It poisons the prospect pool, making it harder for your top performers to get into those accounts later.
That reframing, that a poor hire actually consumes more value than they generate, is incredibly powerful. The cost isn't just salary. It's lost opportunity and brand degradation.
Absolutely. And the research drives this home with a statistic that should be mandatory reading for every hiring manager.
Yeah, that is.
1 top performer will outproduce 3 mid-range hires. This isn't just conjecture. It's the reality of leverage in complex sales environments.
So how do we operationalize that? Because it's one thing to believe it intellectually, but when the pressure is on to fill seats for next quarter, companies almost always default to the perceived lower risk option.
They do.
The affordable mid-range seller.
The first step is just brutal honesty and performance assessment. You have to identify who is taking up space and who is providing leverage.
Take up space versus provide leverage.
Yeah. If you have 3 B players delivering, say, $500,000 in revenue each and 1 A player delivering $2 million, you need to restructure.
You're not cutting costs. You're reallocating resources.
It's an active resource reallocation, exactly. You're reinvesting the capital from those B players into attracting another A player.
That shifts the critical question from how many routes can I afford to who on my team is simply taking up space.
Right. You have to clear the decks.
Which naturally leads us to our second actionable takeaway. Move fast to secure and retain top talent.
Yes. The aggressive headhunting landscape out there requires a fundamental change in speed.
The demand for proven sales success is just completely outstripping supply. Your competitors know where your strong AEs and sales leaders are, and they are actively courting them.
And the motivation for switching jobs has moved beyond just simple compensation. I mean, comp matters.
Of course.
But top performers are seeking environments that offer better growth trajectories and, crucially, superior clarity and structure. They don't want to navigate chaos.
So retaining your best people means giving them that clarity. But when it comes to recruiting new talent, what are the winning companies doing right now to strengthen their bench?
The research highlights 3 key actions. First, they are upgrading talent early.
What does that mean, early?
They aren't waiting for a performance crisis or for someone to leave. They are proactively looking to swap out a B player for an A player, even if the B player isn't technically failing yet.
That takes some real courage. It's hard to make that call when someone is, hitting 80% of quota.
It is, but it's a strategic investment decision.
Yeah.
Second, they're offering clarity and structure from the very first interview.
That acts as a major filter, too, I'd imagine.
A huge one. Only confident, high-performing candidates want to see clear goalposts. Mediocre performers prefer ambiguity because it gives them wiggle room.
That makes perfect sense. What's number 3?
And third, and this is perhaps the most tactically critical, they are moving fast when they find the right people. If you put a top-tier candidate through a 6-week, 5-stage interview loop, your faster, more decisive competitor will have an offer out and accepted by week 3.
That speed element signals respect for the candidate's time and I think confidence in your own decision-making process.
It does.
The connection here is fascinating. If you can't close your best hires quickly, how can you expect them to close your biggest deals?
It's the same muscle. High-velocity decision-making is necessary in both sales and talent acquisition.
Great point. Let's transition now to our third core takeaway. This one is critical for executives planning any kind of expansion. The insight is, mitigate risk in new initiatives with senior hires.
This is it's just non-negotiable for organizations planning significant growth.
Okay.
If you are launching a new product line, moving into a new market, expanding into a complex enterprise segment, average reps will simply not cut it. The failure rate is astronomical.
Because the requirements for that expansion role are fundamentally different from a steady-state sales job. You're not just selling an existing thing.
You're commercially architecting a new route to market. That's the key distinction. When you hire senior sales talent for an expansion, you are essentially hiring a commercial general manager for that territory or product.
And the research listed 4 specific, irreplaceable competencies that senior hires bring to the table in these scenarios.
Yes. 1, they can build new routes to market where none existed before, establishing channels, partnerships.
Right, from scratch.
2, they can educate buyers. They are consultative enough to sell a vision of a future state the buyer didn't even know they needed. They create that greenfield demand.
Creating urgency where none exists, that's a huge skill gap we see in mid-level sellers.
It is, which is number 3. They create that urgency by framing the cost of inaction so powerfully. And 4, they capably handle highly technical and complex financial conversations at the executive level. They can talk to the CFO or CTO from day one.
So what's the P&L justification for that expensive senior hire on a new, unproven initiative?
The justification is risk reduction and accelerated time to revenue. Say you budgeted a 6-month ramp for a new product launch. If you staff it with an average team, that ramp often drags out to 12, even 18 months. You're hemorrhaging cash.
Right.
A senior hire might cost 30% more in salary, but if they shave 4 months off that launch timeline, getting you to positive cash flow quicker, they've paid for themselves many times over.
So the investment in senior talent is actually cheaper than suffering a delayed or failed launch. It's an insurance policy against commercial failure.
Exactly. You are matching the talent's experience to the complexity of the commercial challenge.
Okay, let's synthesize all this. We've established that changing buyer behavior and weakening pipelines are forcing a total reset. The sales experts framed 2026 as a true reset year. So what does this all mean for the leaders listening right now?
It means opportunity, but only if you act decisively. Most companies will continue to debate incremental improvements.
Right.
The ones who win will be those who make surgical, strategic upgrades to their commercial capability now before their competitors lock up all the available top talent.
The ultimate goal then, based on this research, it's not about building a bigger team.
No, that often just adds noise and expense.
It's about building a stronger team, a team capable of achieving consistent, high-leverage sales success.
Winning faster, closing larger, growing consistently.
Regardless of what the economy is doing.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the time for half measures is over. This market demands excellence, and delaying this upgrade will only make catching up harder and way more expensive. The window is open right now.
And to leave you with a final provocative question to take back to your management team, what's the single sales position or the sales leader? Deep down, you should upgrade immediately.
Wow.
Where is the greatest point of leverage or low performance that is actively costing you future success?
Identify that single high-impact area and commit to upgrading it now.
A crucial moment.
It is. And if you are looking to find high-performing sales talent, people who deliver, who stay, and who actually improve your commercial results, we highly recommend you explore the proven headhunting approach offered by the source provider. They specialize in finding those A players quickly and ensuring your investment is precise and impactful for maximizing your sales success.
For more analysis and to dive deeper into maximizing your sales success for the coming year, visit thesalesexperts.com. Thank you for joining us for the deep dive.